State of Wisconsin, Circuit Court, Manitowoc County, Branch 1. State of Wisconsin Plaintiff versus Stephen A. Avery, Defendant. Preliminary examination, case number 05-CF375 and 05-CF381. Date, December 6, 2005. Before the Honorable Patrick L. Willis, Circuit Court Judge. Appearances, Ken Kratz, Special Prosecutor, on behalf of the State of Wisconsin. Eric Loy, Attorney at Law, on behalf of the defendant. Craig Johnson, Attorney at Law, on behalf of the defendant. Stephen Avery, defendant, appeared in person. Appearances, Pam Sturm, Special Agent Thomas Fassbender, Deputy Dan Kucharski, Special Agent Thomas Allen Sturdivant, Leslie Eisenberg, and Sherry Culhane. The court, at this time, the court will call case number 05-375 and 05-CF381, State of Wisconsin versus Stephen Avery. These matters are scheduled for a preliminary examination this afternoon. Will the parties state their appearances for the record, please? Attorney Kratz. State appears by Calumet County District Attorney Ken Kratz. I'm appearing as special prosecutor in this matter. Attorney Loy. Stephen Avery appears personally with his attorneys Eric Loy and Craig Johnson. Your Honor, I would at the outset move to separate witnesses. The court. Mr. Kratz. Attorney Kratz, we have instructed our witnesses as to sequestration. Judge, that's already been done. The court. Have they also been instructed not to speak to each other until they are done testifying? Attorney Kratz, until they are what? The court. Any witnesses who, Attorney Kratz, any witness who testifies will not speak with other witnesses who have not been in court, Judge. The court. Correct. Attorney Kratz. Yes. The court. Okay. And counsel, I believe there's an agreement that although we're dealing with two case files today, the state is going to present evidence at the prelim related to both files and the court. Then we'll make a separate finding with respect to each file following the conclusion of the hearing. Mr. Kratz, is that your understanding? Attorney Kratz, that's my understanding, Your Honor. The court. Mr. Loy, that's my understanding as well, Your Honor. The court, that's acceptable to the state and the defense. Attorney Kratz, yes. Attorney Loy, yes. The court. The court has also received a motion for bail reduction, and I will take that up at the conclusion of the preliminary examination. Anything else before we proceed, counsel? Attorney Kratz. Not from the state, Your Honor. Attorney Loy. Not from us, Your Honor. The court. If not, Mr. Kratz, you may call your first witness. Attorney Kratz. The state will call Pam Sturm to the stand. The clerk. Please remain standing. Raise your right hand. Pamela Sturm, called as witness herein, having been first duly sworn, was examined and testified as to the following. The witness. I do. The clerk. Please be seated. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record. The witness. Pamela Sturm, last name Sturm. Direct examination by Attorney Kratz. Ms. Sturm, I'm going to ask you some questions regarding involvement in a case in the early part of November of this year. First of all, you were familiar with a young woman by the name of Teresa Halbach. Yes, I was. You will need to speak up just a little bit for us, please. Ms. Sturm, can you tell us how you knew Teresa Halbach? Tom is my first cousin, so Teresa would be my second cousin. You will need to tell us who Tom is. Tom is Teresa's father. Ms. Sturm, at some time about the 4th of November, about Friday, the 4th of November, did you become aware of a search effort that was ongoing for Ms. Halbach? Yes, I did. And on the next morning, on the 5th of November, did you agree to participate in the search effort? Yes, I did. Could you tell the court, please, what you did or what you agreed to do that morning? I went to Teresa's house, and Ryan and Scott were there, and most of the searchers were gone already. So they had some maps on the table, so I took a map, And he said, well, they're going to search there, there, and there. And I said, well, I would like to go to, where Teresa was last, which was Avery Salvage Yard. And he said, well, that's up to you. So that's where we went. When you say we, could you tell me who went with you? My daughter was with me. And your daughter's name? Nicole Sturm. About how old is Nicole? 25. Did you and Nicole then proceed to the piece of property west of Mishcot, Wisconsin? Property is known as Avery Auto Salvage. Yes, we did. About what time did you get there, if you remember? Approximately 10 to 10 a.m. At about 10 to 10, did you make contact with anybody on that property? Yes, I did. Who was that? I talked to Earl Avery. And did Earl Avery identify himself or tell you that how he might be associated with the property? I asked him if he was in Avery, and he said yes, Earl. And on the side of the building it says that Earl is one of the co-owners, and he did indicate that he is one of the owners of the property. All right, so in talking to Earl Avery, did you ask him anything specifically? Yes, I did. What did you ask him? I asked him if it would be okay if my daughter and I searched the salvage yard for Teresa Halbach's vehicle. Could you just describe the nature of the conversation? And counsel and court, I'm certainly not asking for the truth of the matter, but what she may have done as a result of that conversation. What did you talk about, Miss Sturm? Well, we talked about, at first I said maybe since it's deer hunting season, some of the hunters may go out in the woods and maybe they will find some evidence of Teresa. And Earl indicated that they go deer hunting up in the Cribbs area, that they have a cottage up there. Miss Sturm, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm going to. Why don't you tell us, at the conclusion of your conversation with Earl, did you ask for any permission to do anything? Yes, we asked if we could go walk around the property and search for Teresa's vehicle. And did Earl Avery give you permission to search the Avery Salvage Yard specifically to try and find Teresa's vehicle? Yes, he did. Did you and your daughter, Nicole, then begin a search of the Avery Salvage property? Yes, we did. Could you describe generally what you did recall about the morning and the size, if you will, of the Avery property? Well, we came into the property and there are 3 roads leading into the property. So we went on the center road and there are quite a few huge buildings there. And it looks like a huge quarry. And evidently it's 40 acres and it's just a lot of vehicles. All right, Mr. You said that you began searching the property. Do you recall a portion of the property to begin to search? Well, if you come into the driveway, we started to sweep from left to right. So we started in the southwest corner, I believe. And did you have a specific intent when you and your daughter regarding that search, what your plan was that day? Yes. What was your intent? What was your intent? We were going to look in each and every vehicle to make sure that Teresa wasn't in there. All right, Ms. Sturm, before you completed, or I should say before you began the search at the AV Auto Salvage, did you have a description of the vehicle that Teresa Halbach had last been driving? Yes, we did. We obtained some slips from Ryan and Scott, and the vehicle description was on there. Basically, what kind of car were you looking for? It was a RAV4 Toyota, small SUV, is that right? It's a small SUV, yes. Ms. Sturm, then, when your daughter, Nicole, and you began searching some of the vehicles, did you happen to come across a vehicle that you believe generally fit the description of the vehicle that Teresa had been driving? Yes, I did. Could you tell the court, please, how you came across that vehicle and what it looked like? Well, we had searched at least 50 vehicles and RVs and trucks, and my daughter was in a row on the right side of me, and I was going to search up my row. And up on the incline there are approximately 7 or 8 vehicles. And I thought, well, I have to go up there and search those and make sure it wasn't up there. What do you mean by up an incline? Well, if you can picture the quarry, it's like a bowl shape. And on top of the ridge, they had a little driveway of sorts. And on there, they had like 7 or 8 cars. All right. I think that you mentioned that this was on the southern portion of the Avery property. Yes, that's correct. When you came across one of those cars, can you tell us what you saw and what you thought? Well, it was so unusual because there were branches leaning up against this vehicle, and I came closer, and there was a hood of a vehicle braced up against the driver's side of the vehicle. So I went around to look at the back, and it says RAV4 on it, Toyota. And I thought, well, yeah, it's got to be that car, but it appeared to be blue. Miss Sturm, let me interrupt again. When you found this vehicle, or when you saw it, it was a RAV4. How was it that you determined that? I looked at the back of the vehicle, and it's printed RAV4, and on the back of the vehicle, and it also says Toyota on it. All right. About what time was it that you came across this vehicle? About 10:20 a.m. So shortly after you begin your search, is that right? Yes. All right. What did you do then? I looked to see if there was a license plate on the vehicle, and there wasn't any on the front. So I went around to the back, and there wasn't any on the back. And I couldn't see my daughter, so I walked towards my daughter because she has the cell phone. I said, Nicole, Nicole, come here, come here. And she came running, and I said, look at this vehicle. This has got to be the vehicle. It's camouflaged even. She said, yeah, uh, I think it is, but it looked kind of blue. Were you able, let me ask you a question first. Are you familiar with identification on vehicles, which are called VIN numbers? Yes, yes, vehicle identification number. I will need to finish asking the question first. Sorry. How is it that you're familiar with VIN numbers? Because I have 10 years experience in the investigative field. All right, Ms. Sturm, were you able to obtain at least partially the VIN number for this vehicle? Well, actually, my daughter read the number because I forgot my glasses. All right, were you able to, and did you, in fact, try to verify the VIN number or try to verify the identification of this vehicle with any law enforcement authorities? Yes, we did. We called the Calumet County Sheriff's Office and attempted to speak with Mr. Pagel, and they gave me voicemail. So I went back to the operator and I said, no, I need to speak to Mr. Pagel in person now. I think we found the vehicle. So she gave me Mr. Pagel immediately. And I told Mr. Pagel, I believe we found the vehicle on the Avery Salvage Yard. And he said, could you read the VIN number to us? But don't touch anything. Don't touch anything. Try not to touch anything. So my daughter read the four last numbers and she could see. Then he said, well, could you read the rest of the numbers? And she read off those to me. And so I told Mr. Pagel the VIN number. Were you instructed to do anything at the time? We were instructed to step away from the vehicle, don't touch anything, and go as far away as you can from the vehicle and just wait for the police. They are on their way. All right. Did the law enforcement officer indicate to you on the phone that the VIN numbers had matched? No, he would not tell me. Just told you get away from the vehicle? That's right. Now, Miss Sturm, when you and Nicole walked onto the property, did you have any photographic equipment with you? Yes, we did. I borrowed a digital camera from Scott because I forgot my camera, and Nicole placed it under her clothing before we went into the yard. After reading off the VIN number, did you believe that it was important that you take digital photos of the vehicle which you had found and how you found it? Yes, we thought we should take photos immediately, in case they told us to get off the property, so we did take 4 or 5 pictures. All right, Miss Sturm, if you would be so kind to look behind you, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as Plaintiff's Exhibit Number 1. Could you tell us what that is? That is the vehicle we found at Avery Salvage Yard. Could you just kind of point to that exhibit as best you can? This might be a little bit difficult without the microphone, but point to an area and tell us what it was that you found and what you thought was significant. As you can see, there are branches leaning up against the vehicles, and also the front of, I can't think of the name of it, and then the VIN number is on the right hand side of the vehicle, on the driver's side. This term, importantly, exhibit number 1, is that the same as you observed the vehicle sometime after 10 in the morning on the 5th of November? Yes, it is. Were you able to determine during the whole process whether or not the vehicle was open or whether it was locked? Were you able to determine during the whole process whether or not the vehicle was open or whether it was locked? My daughter tried the doors and the doors were locked. How did she try the doors? Well, we took the sleeves of our sweats and we pulled on the door handles. And all the doors of vehicles were locked. It was enclosed. Yes, that's correct. Is that right? Miss Sturm, after being told at that point to step away from the vehicle, did you wait for law enforcement officers to arrive? Yes, we did. About how long did it take for law enforcement to arrive at the scene, if you remember? Approximately 20 minutes. Attorney Kratz, all right, Your Honor, I will move admission of Exhibit 1 at this time. I don't have any further questions of Ms. Sturm. Thank you. Thank you. The court. Mr. Loy, first of all, does defense have any objection to the admission of the exhibit? Attorney Loy, no objection for purposes of today's hearing. The court. All right. Do you have any questions for this witness? Attorney Loy, yes, Your Honor. The court. You may proceed. Attorney Loy, thank you, Judge. Cross-examination by Attorney Loy. Ms. Sturm, Exhibit 1, is that the photo that you took? That is a photo that my stepdaughter Nicole took. Okay, with the camera that the two of you had with you. Yes, that's correct. Okay, and the two of you had taken a few other photos that day. 4 or 5 photos of the car. When you first got to the salvage yard, where did you find Earl Avery? Well, if we walked into the main building to see if we could find one of the Averys, and we couldn't. So we came back outside, and there were 2 individuals in the parking lot. And when they got finished with the conversation, I said, "Are you an Avery?" And at that time, he identified himself. One of the 2 individuals? Yes. Did the other person identify himself? No. He had walked away at that point. When you drove down to the Avery property, were there any gates or anything preventing you from entering? We just drove onto the property up to the building. We didn't drive any further than that, but there were no blockades or anything, if that's what you're asking. Are there no one standing there watching who was going in and out of the property? No, sir. So did you park by the main office building? Yes. And that's where you went to first try to find someone? That's correct. When you went down to that area where all the cars are, it was kind of a pit, Corey, is that right? Yes. Did you drive down there or did you walk? We walked down there. Okay, was there anything or any gates or anything preventing you from walking down into that area? No. Did you see any other people down there? There were a couple of people in the salvage yard, yes. And did you find out who those people were? No, sir. Was there anyone else searching the salvage yard that day besides you and your daughter? I don't believe so. As far as you know, the only people that were searching were the 2 of you, is that right? That's correct. And when you went into the main office, you didn't see anybody there? No, we didn't. Did you touch anything in that office? No, sir. How long were you in there? Maybe about 2 seconds. Okay, all right. What did the person who was talking with Earl Avery look like? Can you give me a description of him? He was approximately 5'8", 170 pounds, light brown hair. Were there other people standing? I'm sorry. Where were the 2 of you standing, Earl and this other person he was talking to? They were out in the parking lot, right in front of the building, in front of the main office area. I believe that's the main office area. Okay, was the door to the main office area unlocked? Yes. When you saw this RAV4 vehicle, did you move away any of the items that were covering or on top of it? The only thing that we moved was the hood. And if you can see the picture, the hood got a real thin part where you can just move it a little bit away from the car. And again, we use our sleeves to pull it away from the car. When you say hood, you were talking about the hood off of another vehicle? Correct. It wasn't the hood of the RAV4. No. It was some other hood, right? Yes. Okay. And how far did you move it? We just moved it off. It was leaning against it. and we just moved it off to see if we could, see anything else. All right, and your daughter tried to open all the doors of the RAV4. That's correct. And she used her sleeves. Yes. Did either of you use tissue or anything like that? No. The vehicle was locked. That's correct. Were all the doors tried? The passenger door and the driver's door were tried. For the front seat, pardon me? For the front seat, there are only two doors. Oh, it's only a two-door vehicle? I believe so. Okay, were you aware of any plans to move anyone else to search the salvage yard that day? I don't believe so. I never heard of anything. The people who were down in the salvage yard that you saw, can you give me a description of them? Attorney Kratz, Judge, I understand Mr. Loy may want this information for discovery purposes, but it goes beyond the scope of the preliminary hearing. I will interpose an objection. The court. Mr. Loy? Attorney Loy, he is right. We would like to learn more about these gentlemen. The court. All right. I will sustain the objection. Attorney Kratz, thank you. By Attorney Loy. When you opened the door of the office, did you grab the doorknob and pull it open, or how did you get into the office? I believe the door goes in. So you pushed in the door in? No, I think that I grabbed the doorknob. Grabbed the doorknob and turned it and pushed the door in. Is that how it went? Right. Okay, when you first got there, you didn't see anyone outside, right? Yes, we saw two men conversing by the car. Okay, you saw these two guys conversing by a car, but you went into the main office door to find someone, and then, is that right? That's correct. And then, when you didn't find anyone in the office, you went outside and talked to the two guys. That's correct. And where were they standing? They were standing to the right of my vehicle in between two other vehicles. And did you park your vehicle in sort of a courtyard area near the door to the main office? I parked almost directly in front of the door to the office. When you were talking with Mr. Avery, Mr. Earl Avery, what were your plans to search? What did you tell him about that? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. You told Mr. Avery that you wanted to search the salvage yard, is that right? That's correct. Did you tell him where you wanted to search? I told him that we wanted to search the whole yard. Okay, and what did he say in reply to that? He said that, well, you really shouldn't take your car there because the roads are really bad down there, so I would recommend that you walk. Okay, did he say anything else? No. And what did you say as far as why you wanted to do the search? I said it would relieve Tom and Karen's mind if we could determine if the car was on the property or it wasn't on the property. Okay, did you search? You were looking for Teresa for a vehicle. Would that be fair to say? That's correct. Did Earl Avery have any response to you when he said it would relieve the parents' minds if you would look for that car? Did he have any response to that? He just said, I know how it feels because we lost our nephew a year ago. I know how that feels. Earl Avery was very cooperative with you? Yes. He didn't give you any problems with searching that property? Well, at first he said he thought somebody else was there already to search, but took a vehicle through the yard, and he kind of said, well, they searched already. Did he say anything about what these other searches did or found? No, he didn't. Did he say it was okay then for you to do the search? Yes, he did. Did Earl Avery say anything about where to start the search or anything along those lines, give you any direction? No, sir. He did say you should go on foot. Yes, he did. How did you and your daughter decide where you were going to start searching? We didn't. We just said we would go from left to right. Attorney Lloyd, nothing further, Your Honor. The court. Any redirect? Attorney Kratz. No, Judge. The court. The witness is excused.